Right, hi guys. So as you can see there, I've got the RX10 Mark IV on a tripod, and we are looking out the window. We are on now complete lockdown, so even though we can go outside for exercise individually and go to the shops for essentials and stuff like that, we are now not really allowed to go out with the cameras and do anything. So still trying to think outside the box for photography. So nighttime, if it's clear, we can now get the stars, do some astrophotography, stuff like that. Now, I thought I'd start off with the RX10 Mark IV because that's kind of the, it's in the ballpark of the everyday camera as such. Most cameras nowadays can do long exposures and things like that to a degree. So obviously the RX10 Mark IV is very capable, and compacts and things like that are obviously a bit more restricted, but it's still possible. And even on your phone, you can do quite a bit nowadays. Anyway, so I'm going to be shooting to start off with. I'm going to do a few changes. So I'm going to go into the FN menu, which I've got set, but depending if you've got these set at all, I'm going to turn off stabilisation because it's on a tripod, so there's going to be no movement anyway. Next other thing is I'm going to do is change my drive mode to either a 2 or a 5 second timer. That way, as I touch the camera, to do sort of up to 30-second exposure, I can the camera settles basically, just in case there's a little bit of movement, on the tripod or whatever. You can use your phone. So obviously, if you are shooting, you can actually connect to Wi-Fi, blah blah blah, and utilise the Imaging Edge app or whatever it's called to control the camera fully. Basically, so what we're going to do is, at the moment I'm shooting on ISO 100, obviously try and keep the quality, and I'm going to just shoot f5.6 at the minute, and we're going to crank it down, so I mean fully manual by the way, and we are going to try 30-second exposure. We've got cars still driving past, so I could do some light trails, still the odd car around at the moment, but I'm actually going to aim up into the sky a bit, wide angle on 24mm, so hopefully it'll be right. The only trouble is now with the a7R4 and the higher end cameras, you can actually, especially if you've got a fast lens on, you can actually see a lot more, but with the RX10 Mark IV, for example, this is going to be where it's quite difficult. So we go into manual focus, so toggle it to manual focus, and I would personally go right out to infinity and then come back a little bit, just a little bit there. What am I showing it? You can hear the sand. Well, you can see the block there, you can see the white block. Maybe come back like half, maybe no, about a bit, maybe a quarter of a block, just to give us an idea. And then all you do is timer on, 30-second exposure. And this is where we experiment. So this way you could be here for hours trying to get what you want to see. If you want light trails, or if you up the ISO to sort of 1600, ISO 3200, your shutter speeds are going to be slower. If you open the lens right open to f2.4, your depth of field is going to be shallower, which means your stars will look probably not, well, depending on what if you've got anything in the foreground like a chimney or something like that, this is where it becomes very difficult to get the stars and a chimney in focus at the same time. You end up with blurred stars and a sharp chimney, or vice versa. So let's get the first shot and see exactly what we got first. So this is the ballpark, so we just started on the thing. So I've got a chimney in focus, which you'll see this shot later on screen. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank the lens back open. I don't know if it's sharp or not, but now actually I can see the chimney actually. So if I've got it set as C1 is my zoom button when in manual focus, and I can actually zoom in. See, it's well out of focus. So I'm going to bring that back in about there. I mean, the other way of doing it is just shine a torch. So if I do that quickly, actually. So if you've got a torch, you can shine onto something like so, it means you can actually either use autofocus, and get it bang on. There we go, going. Something like that, I reckon. You've also got door frame, window frame in shot slightly, but it doesn't really matter. These are just experiments. So right now, what I'm going to do is 30 seconds again. Take the picture, and then we've got also another things like we can do light painting. So during the photo, I could actually shine the torch out and light that chimney up. So if you have got a longer exposure going on, but you've stopped down the aperture to something like f5.6, f8 or something like that to get more in focus, but also to give you a longer thing, so you can then start lighting up the side of a house or chimney and stuff like that to give you a bit more interest. But this is all experimentation. This is where no computer or auto mode will ever know what's going to happen. It can't. It's completely dark out there, you know. So you know what do you do? So that's not too bad. We've got a little bit of stars. We've got a bit of star trail, and actually the chimney is in focus. So I'm actually going to move the camera right slightly, just so we don't get that thing. So right now what we can do is we can either crank up the ISO to say, just for extreme modes, ISO 1000, and I'm going to crank down the aperture. f6.3 is a good number. Let's just try and see what happens. 30 seconds again, we'll see what happens. So you're sort of balancing the way everything is you know, going to come out in the long run. So it's just like you can have so many different variations of this. This is crazy. So this next one, so basically I've gone from one extreme to the other. So basically I've gone from wide open now and low ISO to a higher ISO, but stop down the aperture. And then once we can kind of see where we are in that area, we can then adjust things accordingly. So then we kind of get an understanding of what's going on. It's either going to be overexposed or about right. Not bad. Bit of a good guess. Problem is we've got a bit of light pollution, and you can see there. Well, you better see on the photo and actually show you, but there's quite a bit of light pollution from up the road. There's main road and everything's got the street lights, and also Battle, a town nearby as well. But the stars look good. The chimney's sharp. There's plenty of stars in the sky, so not a bad start really. So what we can do now is drop the shutter speed and crank it up to ISO 1600, go a bit wider open, bring the shutter speed down. I think anything less than 7 seconds you won't really see any earth movement, I don't think. Too much anyway. The stars will be relatively sharp. So I'll just there we go. So wide open at f2.4, the stars look out of focus, but they're there, and they're not. There's no blurring at all. Got airplane mode off, so we're going to go control with smartphone connection, standby Wi-Fi, and we're going to go, and I think I've got it on there. So look on your app store. I didn't have it actually. So look on your app store. We can get it on there. About there. You've got the Imaging Edge Mobile. So depending if you're on what do you call it, Android or Apple, that means you just download it. And there's other apps there you can pay for, but the imaging one's fine. You can get, by the looks of it, Play Memories Mobile, which is the older version. But the new one's actually alright, works pretty well. Right, open. So we're going to open it, click yes and agree with the terms and everything. Go next. It asks you to just choose. I suppose they're just doing a bit of a survey. It says photography is my main profession, videography and everything, you know, blah blah blah. There's just lots of options there. Photography is my sideline business, more than 10% of my income. I'm not fully pro, so that's what I am. I have, well, did have a job But yeah, I've always done photography on the side, so I've done it when I feel like I want to do it. I never went full time. I just decided I would lose the love of it. Next one is all the sort of stuff you like. I mean, I do a bit of everything, so I've just highlighted everything. Start. So it says use Bluetooth, yeah, and Wi-Fi, yeah. Would you like image from mobile? Would I send you notifications? Yeah, whatever. And then connect to a new camera. Scan QR code. There we go. There it is. Image remote to join to your rx10 Mark IV, wherever that is. There we go. So basically, it's I've scanned the code on my phone. There you go. Yes, join. In theory. There we go. Right. Okay. Now I have full control of the camera. It's just loading things. So start remote control. Yes. So now, guys, basically, I've got a full control there. So I mean, I personally just still carry on using the camera, and it's basically just my shutter button I just go and use. I mean, obviously you could put, this is the other option, you can connect your phone to your camera now, and remember you can actually plug it in a power bank as well, so if you want the battery to last longer while it's out. So if you sit it out in your garden with a tripod, best thing about the rx10 Mark IV is you've got zoom control, so you can actually zoom in and out as well when you're not even near the camera, so that's really handy compared to obviously a DSLR or anything like that, unless you've got a power zoom lens, which is not very common. It means we can actually have your camera out in the garden 10 feet away. If you can sit inside and just sit there controlling it and get the photos you might want of wildlife and stuff without even being there. You know, so it's really another option. So that's really, really cool. So anyway, got the camera. It's now showing bulb on the on my phone there. Good shot. So I'm not even let's go manual focus again. Bright monitoring, and it gives us, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, just a bit of interest. With the bright monitoring, it basically slows the shutter speed down, or the refresh rate of the screen, you know, the camera reading the outside. So it's a bit jerky, but it gives you an idea of what you might see. So now, because I've got it connected to my phone, that will take a shot for 30 seconds. There you go. So that's a shot without. So it says bulb there. You just slide it left, and then I'll just leave it. Come back in 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. The only thing I would say is, if you're going to go too long, you'll end up ruining the photo, because not because of overexposure, but just because the way digital works compared to old film ways. It can actually ruin your photo rather than not. So I generally sort of do 15 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, and then, because you're not going to move the camera anyway, you can just then start it again, and then you can do some overlaying or merging of images later if you want to make it go, I mean, or stacking, should we say. It's a bit like, say, if you want to do aim for the North Star and you want to do the old circular thing, I would personally do like 20 shots or something of it over a long period of time. That way you can stack them over the whole lot, and you'll end up with less noise because you're stacking the images together, and two, it will just look better because you'll have a cleaner looking image, and it also gives you the options of like, oh, okay, I just want to use half of it. You know, it gives you lots of different ways and means. Anyway, I'm just going to leave this for 15 minutes and see what happens, really, so I'll be back. Right guys, here we go. Shots is about to finish. There we go. There you can see it on the phone, it's gone already. Basically, saved a preview to my phone. So let's take another one. I'm not going to even look at it, I'll have a look in a bit. Actually, can I actually? Oh, yeah. Looks pretty sharp to me. We've got a bit of a light trail in there. A little bit of movement. Is that or a shooting star? One of the two. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to redo the shot. The shot was... did it give me information? Here we go. 770 seconds, whatever that works out to be. So I'm going to do another one, and I am going to shorten the shutter speed. We're also going to open it. I was at shutter f10 there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the aperture down to f5.6, which is a little bit more light in, and I'm also going to basically start the shot again, do it a little bit less, and I'm actually going to light paint the chimney with the torch from a different window. So I'll add a little bit of lighting from that for a few seconds. You don't need to do much at all because basically you can overexpose very easily. So that's why you want to shoot a slightly higher aperture to stop the light getting too aggressive too quick. Here we go. So let's go on for bulb again. So I'm actually going to light paint the chimney now from a different window with the torch, and I'm going to shoot on actually on low power. You don't need it on high power. You just do a few passes. So if you just go across it a few times, or you can literally, I mean, if you went full power, you're literally going to overexpose it because imagine it being almost as bright as daytime, and you know photos are, you know, bright daytime hundredths of a second rather than minutes. So very low powered torch, just I mean, probably even in real estate, probably my phone torch would probably be able to do it. It's about 20 feet away or so. We'd probably still do it over a period of time.
So with that shot, I actually completely forgot that the street lighting actually lights the chimney, so it's a complete waste of time. But anyway, so what I've done here is I've taken a line of shots and at different ISOs. So this one's at ISO 100, f2.4 and 30 seconds. Pretty clean, but the depth of field is a little shallow, so either the chimney or the stars are kind of in focus. This shot here is ISO 1000 and f5.6 and 30 seconds. Next one is ISO 2000, f5.6 and 15 seconds. And this one coming up is ISO 3200 now, f5.6 and 8 seconds. And the last one is at ISO 6400, which is about to change to now, at f5.6, and that's a 4-second exposure. So it just shows you the kind of range that the RX10 can do. They are all unedited, straight out of the camera, so obviously noise reduction could be added, blah blah blah. A little bit of light pollution as well, so which doesn't help in the lower section of the image anyway. But yeah, so just kind of gives you an idea what the RX10 can do. Just play with it, just get used to messing around with it, and let's move on to the a7R4 now.
Right guys, so onto the A7R Mark IV now, and I'm going to start off with a bit of a silly one, but basically ISO 4000, and go from there really. That's how bright monitoring works on the A7R4, a lot better, very bright. In fact, if we go that way, you can see, but we have got an f1.4 lens, so quite a bit more light coming in. We can literally it's definitely cold out there. Sounds like someone's got ice on the window. I'm at ISO 4000. We are getting a quarter of a second. And that's how quick it is, quarter of a second. And to be honest, what we're looking at, everything's out of focus, the stars are out of focus, but the chimney isn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop it down to about f10, something like that. And I'm going to drop it down to 1000 ISO, and then we'll just crank up the, we'll do a 25-second exposure and see how it works. So that one's come off. Looks pretty good actually. It's dark, but so we've got enough light on the chimney there. Let's go a little bit so we can see. You can get a bit of a feel. There we go. So you can probably see my finger there. Chimney looks good. Stars are there, but not all that amazing. So what we're going to do is give it 30 seconds and just crank it down to f8 and see what the difference is. A little bit more light into the situation. It is literally a case, guys, of experimentation. You know, it'd be nice to have a thunderstorm as well, a bit of lightning, stuff like that we could do if it was, you know, that sort of weather. But at the moment it's lovely and calm, it's clear, it's fresh, and it's, you know, it's lovely at the moment. So, like I say, you can become as creative as you possibly can. So you've just got to think outside the box a little bit. Utilise these cameras for what you can. You know, if you've got a few different lenses, you can kind of mess around a bit and see how we go. There we go. So that's a bit better. So the stars now looking a bit better, and the chimney's looking quite cool as well. But then we can obviously do higher extremes. So that's still ISO 1000. We can drop the ISO right down to 100 and then whack it into bulb. So we're done with the remote control, because we know the remote control works on this camera, even though it did work on the rx10. But like I say, it's not the end of the world, because you choose your phone, which is no big drama at all. It's already pre-focused and everything. F8 to give us a good bit, little bit of depth there. And again, remote is now firing. So yeah, so that's basically going to be as long as I fancy. So you know, if you can get outside, it's more ideal. If you can go in your back garden, look up in the sky. If you've got trees, interesting trees in your garden, you can light paint them with a little bit of torch, etc, etc. Works really well. Just experiment, guys. Any questions or about setting up your camera, anything like that, feel free to ask. But literally, it's a case of, we're so lucky that we have digital now, because imagine if we were in this situation where we had film still and we had no digital. Yeah, we'd be able to process at home and everything, but you'll be limited on resources. So yeah, it's just a case of, and obviously we can see what we get straight away. So if you don't get it quite right, adjust your settings a little bit more, a little bit more light, a little bit more depth, depending on how you want to how you want the photo to become, and you can just snap away. So anyway, I'm going to carry on snapping and just experiment myself, and I shall see you in a bit.
So we're now on to obviously the A7R Mark IV, and this shot here was a ISO 1600 f8, and there's 20 seconds. The next one is a f8, an ISO 3200 and 6 seconds. The next one is number 24, which is ISO 3200 and f8 and 20 seconds this time, so there's a little bit of movement in the stars there. Next one is ISO 6400 f8, 10 seconds. And the next one after that, which is just changing now, is ISO 10,000, so I'm starting to push it up now, but it still looks pretty clean to me. These are unedited shots, by the way. And then we are on to the next one, which is where it starts to get a little bit grainy. ISO 20,000 f14 and 6 seconds. And then the last one, pushing it to its limit really, ISO 3200 f14 and 2.5 seconds on the exposure. That's kind of really it. They are amazing cameras, really, what you can do with them. And you know, it's a case of trying to get the best from them. So if you can keep the ISO low, obviously you're going to get a better image quality, but sometimes you want the light to come through the camera more efficiently. So obviously stars aren't actually that bright. There's a lot of dark sky and then these little pin spot stars. So if you turn your ISO up and shorten your shutter speed, you get nice pin sharp stars. And obviously more aperture you've got as well, the more depth you've got in the shot, the more is in focus, and so on. So it's basically a case of just experiment yourself. Any questions, please feel free to ask. Obviously rx10 Mark IV, the A7R4, or anything before that down to the A7R, or the A60 6300, anything like that is I've used plenty of. Feel free to ask or comment. Any comments are always grateful. Any ideas, please comment below as well. And obviously learn yourself just by experimentation. It's really worthwhile, and you get a lot of satisfaction out of it once you get it right. You feel, you know, it's really, really good. So anyway guys, keep smiling, and let's keep shooting, and I shall see you soon.